which they have disapproved. But also, we must also say that in Ghana, the history of Ghana, especially in the Fourth Republic, no one has become, okay, to become a president, you must have lost twice in an election. Because John Akufo lost twice to Rawlings. Yes, John Akufo lost twice to Rawlings. Then we also see that Atta Mills lost twice to John Akufo. And then Nana Akufo-Addo lost once to Atta Mills and once to John Mahama. So now Mahama has now also lost twice to Akufo-Addo. So it means that in 2024, actually it will be his to pick. Yes.
Okay. Well, Mututa, your observation of the Ghana election which just ended a few days ago.
Like we said, first of all, I think it is important that there are lessons to learn from Ghana elections, that actually we can have a peaceful election even in Africa. Far, far better than some of the countries we think are developed. And the history also of Ghana, I think, gives us what it takes to have a peaceful election. Not that Ghana is known for the peaceful elections, because you remember when they started with the kind of the pact in 2012. Is it 2012? 2012, yes. Earlier on, they had turbulent elections until they decided on having a process of... So that we can have a peaceful election during and after. Because what happened is that each of the, especially these two major parties, they have vigilante groups attached.
And I think that's very important for you to emphasize, the vigilante groups that all these political parties actually breed. Now, the pact is not followed because there is, like Ugandans actually interpreting that there is security forces, one side that is actually tussling it out and battling with presidential candidates. In Ghana, it is this party called NPP and this party called NDC have vigilantes, and I think it was 2019 when they actually had to even pass an act of parliament, the Vigilante Act or something like that, exactly, to regulate, you know, that kind of behavior, because now this was by political parties, and to be able to actually manage the parties, and I think that's very important for you to emphasize on what actually precipitated for the signing of the Peace Pact.
Yeah, because without that, then these vigilante groups, and sometimes we have heard also people say vote protection, you know, the vote protection groups. You are militarizing the vote, and no one is going to be there to protect the vote. And someone said it, vote and wait for the win or the lose. And that is what they have emphasized. And it has helped really to put sanity in the campaign system, in the election process, but also the after effects of the elections. That each of the candidates has agreed that we will go by what comes out. And if any of the parties is disputing, then the court. So that there is no demonstration, there is no chaos. We didn't expect that to happen, but like you said, something came up and the clash was there, and then the 4 people were killed.
Actually 5.
Yeah, actually, yeah, finally. But you realize that even that, of course, a life is a life, but still compared to what would be without, would have been worse.
Talking about the court process itself, because it's also being emphasized in the Peace Pact, that should you refuse the outcome of the election, then it's important that you actually seek legal redress in the courts of laws. But you remember that the other election when Nana lost to Dramani. He actually went to court. But do you realize that actually Nana, Dramani went on to actually swear when court had actually not even dispensed the case itself and quite a number of things. And it also just keeps you wondering and how it actually happens, because you have a court case, you're challenging a process, you're challenging an election, but yet again, on the other side, the system is going on, they're swearing in a president and doing all these things too. So what are these very pertinent lessons, I think, that we need to pick from this particular country called Ghana? Because on the onset, well, people may tend to think that maybe Ghana is actually not even supposed to be in Africa. It's a country of its own, where there are no challenges, or where somebody loses an election and honorably just says, oh, congratulations, Ndugwakol, you've beaten me hands down, so here is where I have to go, and stuff like that.
Maybe you also need to look at the history of Ghana itself. From the time, one was saying Ghana is the country that was colonized after independence, but being one of the first countries in actually the first country in Africa to get independence, it has modeled a lot. And by the way, from day one, Ghana has been based on the two-party system, even as they headed into independence, because there was the Kwame Nkrumah, when he came back from England after he had finished his studies, together with others, because they started their political issues from England. So when he comes back, he joins with others. They called them a group of the Big Six. Now the Big Six included Kwame Nkrumah and the father of the current president.
Edward Akufo. Yes,
Edward Akufo, who eventually became the Chief Justice and later on became the president. Now, the Big Six played a very big role because they are referred to as the fathers of the nation. No wonder the current Akufo takes it like a privilege, and he has
that entitlement, because his father was there before.
To be a president, because his father was a founding father of the nation. Now, by the time they got to independence, they had the United Gold Coast Convention, which was the political party, the first political party which was founded in Ghana. Now, they happened in around 1948. There happened to be a demonstration, and it was actually a boycott that Kwame Nkrumah and the group of six called to boycott the products that were being brought in by British and other countries. I mean Britain. Now, when that happened, there was a demonstration. Again, they came. A group of the servicemen who had fought the Second World War, and they were demanding for their pay, that they were not being paid. Now, during that demonstration, three were killed and 2 others were injured. In the demonstration, the police refused to open fire even when they were commanded, but the police commissioner himself shot and killed 2 people and injured other 3. That demonstration lasted for 5 days. All the shops were looted across the country. Life went out of hand. Now, from that day, Kwame Nkrumah thought the United Convention was not pushing so hard for independence, and they were being so diplomatic. That's when he broke off and formed the People's Convention Party, CPP. Yes. Now, those parties, the two parallels, have never gone back. So at least whichever party we are seeing today must have derived life from those two parties. So these two have stabilized the politics of Ghana. But now there is the other problem, that in Ghana today, as we speak, there are 30 political parties. And these 30 political parties don't see themselves getting to power anyway. You have to belong to one of like now the next election, you can easily tell who is going to win. So that has helped to put the politics at least at a level where it is so predictable, which is also good for the economics of the country, for the future of the country, that you can easily tell what is going to happen. But at the same time, you also look at it as a deterrent, as a problem to the other smaller political parties, that unless you join this club, because that is why I think the mistake the First Lady, the former First Lady made. If she was to be a person of influence in Ghana, she ought to have been in one of the major political parties. Now, but at the same time, Ghana has influencers beyond the politicians. Because if it were only for the politicians, this peace pact maybe wouldn't have been made. But you know this famous woman. But also the issue of the traditional leaders, the Ashanti and other groups, because Ghana, of course, comes up as a country from several of the kingdoms that were brought together in the Gold Coast. Now, initially, they used even to have a council of the traditional leaders. They were brought together constitutionally, that they could take a decision on how politics could be governed. It is until when Kwame Nkrumah became the president and decided that these people would be elected directly from the constituencies. But now we still have a council of those traditional leaders from these kingdoms. They influence a lot of the politics. Now, then the religious groups also influence the politics. So even when politicians have what they can do, there is a lot that they also need to consider when it comes to these other influencers. Because if the kingdoms decide that you are not going to be a president, even when you become a president, your legitimacy will be questioned. Now, if the religious leaders also don't appreciate that you're a president, and there are many of their followers, then you are going to have a problem. So what you are saying is that this pact is not necessarily only a political platform, but it's also brought about by the other centers of power. That the center of power is not only in the political elite class, but also these other
there are quite a number of stakeholders.
So they balance the politics in the country.
Can we have that a call, for example? Now there are debates here, and of course the discussion or conversations of also doing a peace pact, for example. When this had just happened, and I think a day or two to the Ghana's elections, one of our election observers here is, I think, an election specialist, Mr. Crispin Kahero. He actually wrote somewhere on social media and said, the way to go, we need a presidential elections peace pact for this country because of what we are actually seeing happen in this country. Now, remember, here we have what they call the Elders, the Elders Forum of Uganda, I think, which is headed by Justice Ogola.
We have the Elders Council.
Exactly. Now, and of course, we have the political parties and organizations. Now, that's basically and predominantly for the political parties. Now, we have other centers, like he's actually put up the centers, for example. We have the Interreligious Council of Uganda, which tries as much as possible to distance themselves from politics, especially partisan politics. For we know, when they were formed in 2001, the reasons for which they came into play and quite a number of things. But remember, they are stakeholders, and this can't happen without their effort or input or whatever that is. And of course now the agitation. Then of course you bring in the civil society organizations, quite a number of these that are looking at elections, monitoring elections, engaging the citizens in elections and stuff like that. The agitation and the demand, now that we also need something like the presidential elections peace pact of Ghana. Look at the situations that played out in Ghana, the setting of Ghana, and also some legal issues in there, comparing them to what is actually in Uganda today. Can we have something like that? And if we are to have it, what we think can actually inform our peace pact, for example?
Well, I think, yes, we can. We can. It is also possible. But also, we need to appreciate the fact that the circumstances in Ghana and the circumstances in Uganda actually differ. They differ in a sense that in Ghana you have two parties that actually have all it takes to run government. You have two parties that have structures throughout the country. Now, in Uganda, you have an NRM, which is like a CCM in Tanzania.
It's everywhere.
It is everywhere, competing with the parties that are nowhere. Because there are 76 constituencies where the opposition has no representation in this election. So ideally now it will be a mismatch. It will be like the 19 of Uganda agreement, where you have a Daudi Chwa against the governor, the colonialists. So that is something that we need also to appreciate. Now, secondly, the Muslims in Ghana solidly believe in their great Imam, the great Mufti.
To the extent that it's not now only Muslims believing in him, but also the other religions.
Even the other religions.
But also the character of the great Imam has also attracted respect from other religions. Exactly. When he was celebrating his 100th birthday, he went to the Catholic Church. So implying that even the Christians respect him. Now, when he comes out to speak, definitely very many people are going to believe in what he says. Then you have the Ashanti Kingdom. You know, in Ghana, the Ashanti say they are born to rule. In other words, no one rules Ghana without their blessing. That's why you see that even the Peace Pact had to involve the Ashanti. And the Ashanti, they are the majority. Actually, they constitute about 40% of the population. It is a big tribe.
And the way they are placed within the center.
Within the center, you see. So these are some of the issues that here we really, because here the Waganda would say it's the largest tribe, but they don't constitute 30% of the population.
No, we do not.
See? So these are issues that we really also need to understand. Now, the other issue that we also have to understand in this particular election is that the leaders who are involved, one who is the immediate former president, and the other one is the current president. We also have a military that is not actually involved in elections. We have the police that is not really involved in election. We have state institutions that ideally are not involved in elections. We are not seeing a presidential candidate say, when I win, you will see me. No, we're not saying that.
No, it's not there.
It's not there. But here already somebody is threatening life out of everybody in government when we take power. So these are issues that are not. Now, on the issue, you talked about the issue of when Akufo actually went to court contesting Dramani's election about 8 years ago, and Dramani went ahead to
swear in as
actually, that is what sparked the 2007 Kenya post-election violence. And Raila Odinga said, does not give a time frame.
Yes, exactly.
And he said, yes, I will go to court. By the time the court pronounces itself on the case,
this man
will be finishing his time of office. So, and that is why I say that the framers of the 1995 constitution in Uganda were visionary. Because here in Uganda, you don't swear in until the election petition is dispensed. You see? So that's why I tell you that.
And even after that, you have another about 2 months.
Yes.
Even after the court case itself, then you have another whole whooping 2 months still waiting to swear in.
I think really, that's why I say that.
Because just imagine an election that is done in, for example, our election will be done on the 14th of January, and swearing will come in May. Just look at all that period of another 3-4 months, which doesn't happen anywhere.
Yet in Ghana, actually, they're supposed to be sworn in January. They just elected this December and January.
In January, they're saying. So it doesn't favor.
It doesn't give that transition. Yes, where anything that has come out, spillovers from elections, can actually be addressed and resolved. So I think that is something.
Talk about the issues. Emphasize, or let me hear your thoughts. Speak your thoughts on what he talked about, the vigilantes, of course, because these were also a very big issue. Now, when you see, of course, we'll talk about this with the BBI much time, maybe next week or the coming days. What is in Kenya? Now, you remember that even in Kenya, now there are these two giants. but Raila on this other side and Migai Kenyatta on this other side. Now, all of them have their own forces behind them. And, you know, they have people who actually do believe in them. And they say, it has to be Raila Odinga, it has to be Uhuru Kenyatta. It has to be, you know, the forces behind them. Looking at what is actually happening in Uganda, what is precipitating the presidential peace pact, for example? What are these issues that we should look to? You just made some very good points here. That we have a presidential candidate or presidential candidates who actually say, when I get into power, watch out. Now you're already pushing some people at the fence or on the fence, and they're saying, oh, so where is my life after this time? Where is my life in January? Where is my life in February? How about my family? Now there are those who have already a phobia. That will I be able to salute this incoming commander? Will I be able to actually do this? Because there are these. Now, away from the presidential candidates, but they also the supporters who are sending these to just people. Even when somebody is just a driver of a government vehicle, and they're telling him, and you wonder now, this man has a job as a driver of a government vehicle. Simply, he's his only driver. He got a job to drive the car, but he's already getting threats. What do you think should inform and what should actually our concept be if we are talking about a peace pact, for example?
I think the peace pact we need to come up with as Uganda, especially in the presidential election, is for various political players to respect institutions of government. That is very, very, very important. And secondly, also the institutions of government should also look at these people, players in the institutions of government, should look at this as a game that is going to come and pass, and government is going to remain. Because what is actually very unfortunate to most opposition players is that the mind they create is they are coming to replace government, which is very unfortunate, which is actually not the case. You come to form government because government will always be there. You come to co-opposition government, the government will always be there, and definitely the players in government, they are the very people you're going to. Just like Afande Kuleje mentioned it the other time, that as a soldier, his duty is to salute the commander-in-chief, whether it is Bobby Wine, whether it is M7, whoever it is.
Whoever it is.
Yes, that is his duty, to salute the commander-in-chief. So that is not debatable. That's not debatable. So that is what we expect of Mercy. Of course, now like they're saying, UBC that we are biased. Well, of course, I don't see the bias because we are mandated to give coverage to all presidential candidates. And unfortunately, some of them, even before you can extend an invitation, the moment you say your UBC, your government. So, I mean, that negative kind of... So, the attitude in some of the political players ought to change.
But at the same time, remember in Ghana, the police at one point, until they had to form an act of parliament to ensure that police comes in when the time of election is. Otherwise, police would be doing their things and coming in as and when they need to. So, but also I think deemed necessary, much as there was the Vigilante Act, that the police also needed to be, because of the independence so much. Now, the issue of structures and government departments also needs to be looked at. And you know, in the pact, the two political parties have also committed to further amendments in the constitution to ensure that this peace thing is enshrined in the constitution, that whoever loses the election goes to court, and whoever wins does not torment the loser. So because it is a pact outside constitution, now what they are
planning, it's just an agreement somewhere.
They want this agreement to be a constitutional issue, that tomorrow this peace must be maintained. But at the same time, I think, like you are saying here, in Uganda we have a problem. I think it is the little understanding of the candidates. I'm not saying they don't understand, but I think there's little understanding of the operations of government. The political party and government, how the two things work. You find people who claim that, of course, like you said, one tells you that once we come, what you are doing is going to be my thing. You may not, even when your candidate wins. because there is the political system and there is the government. Even when you come in power and you appoint your new public service officials, and there are rules, there are standing orders to be followed. Not every idiot is going to end up in a position, but those who qualify definitely will be there. And if the positions are there anyway, and you are not going to send away everyone from public service home, because you are going to cost a lot on government. So people need to understand that leadership is just a product. But there are many things that happen for a person to be able to end there. Okay. So when you threaten the people, but of course, now imagine if you won the election today and you want all the police away, so that you can form, fresh? Yeah, you can have a new police force.
Then where do you take all these? where do you take all these thousands?
And how do you? What fills the void that this
in the process that these are blown away?
Exactly. So sometimes I think people, either it's out of excitement or annoyance or lack of respect for themselves and the institutions, that they begin making some of these statements, not knowing the implications. But it is not possible that you can come in government and you throw everyone away. It happened, and we discussed this about some time, that when this frequent takeovers caused in Uganda, we used to have the cabinet library at the office this side. And then people who will come in would want to destroy whatever they find around, because then they would not want to be associated with either Amin or Obote or something that they have taken over. Years later on, there is information we are trying to look for, and you cannot get it.
You can't retrieve it because it was disorganized.
It was destroyed. So that you can do it today because you are excited doing it, but you may not know the implications, the long-term implications of the actions that you are doing. So even in politics, we need to have leaders who are responsible in what they do, in what they say. And if you are beginning to say that before you come to be a leader, then that means that your leadership skills needs to be further examined. Otherwise, you do that, then you are going to cause trouble for the government, and then you can be facilitating the next takeover. Okay.
A call. The other next thing that I think we also need to bring into context here is just a few days ago back home here, we had, or we saw some old politicians, the likes of Dr. Semogedede, Kawang, and all the others, different political shades, sitting and of course also agreeing and penning a document of sorts. Now, before your peace pact comes on, they are saying, shouldn't it be President Museveni and it is any one of these other 10, especially the political parties. Now, we'll talk about the political parties later on, the independents, because they are independent. Yeah. Now, when you look at the other political parties, I think are 4 against the NRM, NUP, ANT, FDC, and the Democratic Party. The agreement is whoever takes power should form a government of unity, where all of them should actually come in and you know, be part of that. Is this scramble trying to answer that question, that yes, we can't continue having, you just gave us the analysis here, of you have a party that is everywhere, and you have parties that are competing, which is actually not the same as it is in Ghana. Now, in Ghana, you have an opposition party that has a majority, and you have a ruling party that equally has a majority. Now, when you have the same numbers, then you are equally big. Now you have one party that is spread everywhere, and you have other parties that are competing, but they're focused only at the presidency, and they're not anywhere. Is a scramble intending to find a solution to the problem that we're seeing now? Is it achievable? Is it can we attain it, or it's these other political gymnastics that we normally go through, especially during such periods?
No, I think perhaps a unity pact is very, very much important for the opposition. The unity pact is very, very much important, so that they can really see how to take on the NRM. If that is not done between now and 14th, they will be in for a great shock. Because they have over-concentrated in a few constituencies. Actually, where they would even have had a chance to say, let us field one candidate, agree to take on the NRM. But incidentally, you find that every party thinks that, let me field in this constituency. And at the end of the day, they may end up losing even the constituencies, actually, we thought that they are theirs. Now, NRM having 70 plus constituencies where there is no opposition presence, that gives them a huge start, by the way, very huge. In politics, that is a serious starting point. 70 constituencies, that is a serious, because ideally they are assured of those 70 members of parliament. It therefore means, because even FDC as the largest opposition party has never had 70 members of parliament. So now you're taking on a party that already has 70. Let's get to Ghana. NDC had a candidate in all the 275 constituencies. NPP had a candidate in all the 275 constituencies. So, which is actually not the case here. Now, when you go to Kenya, for them, they have zoned the country. You know that central Kenya, that is Jubilee. Exactly. You know the Rift Valley, that is Jubilee. You go to Western Kenya, that is NASA. You go to the coast. So they have actually zoned their country in that order. So and in the crisis with opposition here in Uganda, one, they have failed to raise capacity to compete at the lower levels, that is parliamentary and local government. Secondly, they have also failed to create their voting blocks, so that especially you can say maybe northern Uganda, no-go area for government. So they have failed to create those voting blocks, and indeed that is what is going to affect them. So ideally, NRM is at liberty to either accept the pact or not, because you see, in politics, it is balance. It is balance of numbers. It is a game of numbers. So therefore, it should be always that balance of power. If I'm coming to dialogue with you, what is it that you're coming with to the table?
How about the timing itself? Is it the right time now, or the behind you? Because what you're talking about should have been done before the nominations in when we did them. It's actually no. That if a call is opposition, Motuta is opposition, and Jagana is opposition, and you actually say this should be a UPC a constituency. So a Motuta of a different opposition party doesn't come, and you leave it for Jagan of FDC, rather of UPC. Then you galvanize, but can we get there? Because, for example, when you look at the political parties that we have today, we have a new party that just came on very recently, that's NUP. And the NUP actually managed to excel by again getting from within the house. You would have expected that all these rather NUP flag bearers actually defected from the NRM. But they were just changing outfit. They were in the same house, but just changing bedrooms, moving from one from your FDC, and today you are NUP, your DP, and today you're the other day. Looking at the time itself, are these tenable things, are the Semogaris chasing air, or they really feel they can actually pen down something and something happens to them?
Well, I think it's out of the concern that things seem not to be going in the direction that they would have expected Uganda to be in, especially after all of this time. Because the issues of alliances are normally happening in new democracies, where the systems are not so developed, and there are blur lines on which political party you belong to, or which ideology you support. But in countries in democracies where the systems have been developed, you definitely, your ideas tell where you belong. But at the same time, when you look at the problems of the opposition in this country, I think not only the problems of the opposition, it affects the whole leadership scope, because the movement is having issues of quality. Actually, the country we're having issues of quality leaders, because the opposition is not measuring up to the scale that you can push for that competition, and then you can compete. Because much as we are in parties, Uganda also has still a hangover of the individual merit. A person is being voted because he's either has done something or is related to someone, so it is the individual that we are going to vote. But at the same time, where the political parties are, the opposition is weak, the movement will have any weak candidate, and because he subscribes to the movement, and the people, and that's why in some cases people say, once you have the flag, a sure deal, you are going to parliament. When it comes to the movement. However weak, however, whatever.
Once you give it the flag.
Yes.
Once you are the flag bearer, then you're through.
And that's why sometimes when you flash back, the flag also becomes problematic. Who gets the flag? And we have seen this in the primaries. Now, that means that unless there is a force somewhere that people will subscribe to, even when that is happening, then the politics is not being stabilized. Because people are just jumping from one area to another area, and we have even people change constituencies for purposes of winning an election. But the political parties need to sit down and do a sort of soul searching, that why are we losing that much? Because the traditional political parties we had in this country is to the extent that are almost disappearing. What has happened? And yet we have people from the grassroots. Now, politicians are just jumping on any wagon that can deliver them to parliament. But they're not looking at the whole processes. We need to have district branches functioning. We need to have sub-county branches functioning. And that means then the political parties will be able to raise enough of their stock into parliament, and they will be able to compete with the movement. The movement has been in power fine for quite some time, and they have put up structures. When you go to the village, you have about 30 people, but you also have the LOC system, which in greater extent subscribes to the movement. So the political parties, the opposition also needs to put up parallel structures right from grassroots. Of course, one is saying we don't have money to do that, but I think it's becoming so known that without resources, you are not going to have leadership. So you need to organize people from the grassroots. That once the competition is there, once the movement finds that competition there, they will also agree to some of these positions that are being pushed, that we need to sit down and we agree and we have the kind of peace pact. Now, unlike Ghana, Uganda also has a problem. Who is pushing for this peace pact?
Who is pushing for it? Now, that's very important.
Yeah.
Who are the advocates? Who are the proponents of the peace pact?
Exactly. Because when you look at some of the members of who are pushing for this pact, they also have their own problems, either with the organizations where they belong to or their history that they have.
It's questionable.
Yeah. So that is also the other big problem. When you talk, we talked about this famous Muslim imam
the chief imam.
Yes, the chief imam in Ghana. Yes. In fact, to the extent that he embodies two things. First of all, he comes from the north. He is not coming from the Ashanti region. He comes from the north.
Because it's the northern part that has Muslims.
Yes. And second thing, that he becomes so popular that some of his Muslim people think he's not pure Muslim, but he has a following. So you can't do without him.
He's too moderate.
Yes.
He's actually too moderate that he's not that extremist Muslim.
Yeah.
So they tend to have that feeling of maybe he's actually not typically Muslim.
Exactly.
Or something like that.
But he has this credible following that you cannot in any way dismiss him. That aside, we have had some of the people who are pushing this kind of peace pact here also have a history of trying to lean on government a bit so that for their own survival somehow. So that has been a problem. But at the same time, that what happens when this pact is done who should sign. In Ghana, for example, we have the only two parties that are strong.
NPP and NDC.
Yes. In Uganda, which are the parties that are strong? So
what is the equivalent of NPP and NDC?
And NDC
here in Uganda. What's that equivalent?
In Uganda, there is this fishing craze, because every other time when the water is spilled, you find a new political party coming up against the movement. Another political party coming up with things. So that is going to be problematic.
Okay.
But what can be done is that the bottom line is that we need this peace pact. That people will be able to control their voters. Now, how do you control your supporters and your voters when you actually don't know them?
That's also very important. We've always talked about it and said, can these candidates reign over, can they reign in over their own supporters? We discussed that, I think, during nomination day, that could Patrick Amriat, for example, talk about reigning over the supporters of the FTC, telling them, no, the Electoral Commission says they need only 10 of us. We'll go nominate, come back with a nomination certificate, then we'll tell you what comes on next. Would Honorable Chagulain tell the supporters from Magere, let me drive, I'm supposed to be there at 10 o'clock, let me go, if by the grace of God I nominate, then I'll come back and tell you what is going to happen next. Do we have them to that level that actually they can talk to their supporters? But you made a very good point. How do you talk to the people that you do not know?
You don't know.
When Chagulain was arrested in Walker the first time, you remember, he told his people, please, let's be peaceful. I remember him say that. Now, who was he talking to? Somebody could say that. Who was actually he talking to? Now, the other side, you have a blogger, you have a blogger Jagan, you have a blogger on Twitter here who actually saying, no, the man has already been injured, he's been hurt, he's been done the things too. But then it's chaos and everywhere. Can we talk to these people who we actually do not know? Because in Kenya, rather in Ghana, it's a different story. That NDC knows who their people are. NPP knows who their people are. It's distinct.
Yeah, because these people are card holders. I have members when I'm going to Kampala. I think yesterday was in Kampala. When you are going to Kampala, you have your card holders. You know your members in Kampala. You know them. And you can use your structures to make sure that not all of these members are coming to welcome you, or they are going to be in a particular place. And at the same time, you have seen parties known for their ideologies. There are no parties that are going to begin throwing stones at police. Those are now going to be vigilantes. So card holders are easy to control. But when you have spontaneous crowds following you, as they did with Jesus, then these are not even your members. They are following you for other reasons. But what needs to be done is that parties need to have members. That the members, they will control. The members, they will be able to know. How do you tell that I lost an election because I was rigged, when you even don't know how many voters voted for you?
Maybe coming in...
as you're concluding, because our time is running out, we've actually run out of all our time. We will have 2 minutes. So as you conclude in 1 minute.
Well, because it reminds me of what happened in Tanzania when Bernard Membe, in his own constituency polling station, the CCM candidate was unopposed. The CCM
just recently, actually.
Yes, was unopposed. So if like that, even in his own backyard, in his own constituency.
In Dodoma, I think?
No, that is in Lindi.
In Lindi, yes.
He failed to raise a candidate to compete against the CCM for both parliamentary and
but you see, Bernard came from CCM. So the people that you would actually even have actually possibly have stayed in the CCM.
If you say you're strong, you defect like Lowassa, because
yes, exactly.
when
Lowassa defected with many.
The whole Masai, whatever, defected also to Chadema.
But that was mean is that he was also charismatic.
Yeah. So but now you have a Bernard Membe who could not do that. So it's the same here with the opposition. That you say your vice chairperson, your vice president comes from West Nile, in a district where she comes from, the NRM candidate is unopposed.
Exactly.
Yes,
actually, it is the Lindy thing.
Yes,
that you are the vice chairperson of a party, and in your home area or district, you actually not have. Gentlemen, we'll stop this year, and just promise the people that when is Christmas?
That is next Friday.
Christmas on Friday?
Yes.
Oh, so we'll not be here on Friday?
We'll not be here for Friday.
We can have it on Thursday.
But we may come back on Thursday.
We may come back on Thursday, just before Christmas?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we come back on Thursday, we'll talk about the BBI in Kenya. Kali, thank you so much. Very good viewers. We just want to wish you all the best, and of course, to also let you know that government is advising us against moving to the villages. I'm sure you're not going to, you're not traveling east, and you're not traveling west.
I don't know if that is going to be another lockdown.
No, there will be no lockdown.
Then people are going to lock themselves down.
But you see, it's also possible. One of the ways people are going to lock themselves down is you will go to a bus that is taking you to Bali, and the fares are tripled.
And then, of course, that's going to be a problem because there's going to be commotion at the park.
Then people will not travel. I don't know what to innocent what I'm going to do.
Then more infections.
Because if you come to my bus and the journey that is 30,000 is now 90,000, then what will you do? Put the money on mobile money and send it to the village.
Yeah, but it will be a good thing that people don't move until this disease is out.
Yeah, we need to manage ourselves. Yeah. We need to manage ourselves. Patrick is just very impressed. We'll stop that bit here. Thank you so much for being part of Pan-African Friday. My name is Jagger Asemakola Ziksoka. We'll return on Thursday 24th. Stay blessed. Good morning and bye for today.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.